Should be good. Okay. Well, good afternoon or maybe morning for some people on the call. Again, my name is Ryan McNary, Chief of Traffic Operations. So what they all just went over has been something that we've been working on for a while here in Pennsylvania, drawing that link between operations and safety. So, whoops, don't want to jump too fast here. So I have about 15 minutes to go over this, which I could probably talk an hour on. Because like I said, we've been doing this for over 5 to 7, 8 years. Kind of built our whole TISMO program around linking these two. So that's that relationship there. How we've done that with data to justify our TISMO solutions. Some of the safety countermeasures that we've built into our operations program. So the data-driven messages, the business rules we have behind our systems. Some of them are related to, like you heard, Q, weather messaging, variable speed limits, and then how we've deployed maybe some of those portable variable speed limits for weather applications, for example. A NHTSA grant we received for the first time last year to work on some digital alerting. Where we could start to pull in, some DOT data sets where we can harmonize some safety information and then eventually have those digital alerting to go out to vehicles or on our ITS equipment. And then where we're at with our vehicle to everything data exchange roadmap, and then the future as what I would like to see, some of the data sets they saw for real-time internet shared connected vehicle data that could support operations. I'm a little selfish there, operations, but in turn, it's going to definitely help out the safety of the roadways. So where we're at, how this helps us organizationally, we're under one division, used to be a bureau, but it's the division of highway safety and traffic operations. My office is on the left there. We have temporary traffic control. We have all the traffic systems, the data, all the data the systems generates, and then those subscriptions, those costly subscriptions that the gentleman before me talked about, we manage those relationships, and then TMC operations statewide. We also have the statewide traffic management center, but we help with the policy and performance. But if you go all the way to the right, highway safety is a part of this division. So I actually started my career with the DOT in that office. So I very much have a safety driven focus. I really liked how they were data driven to begin with. Back in those times, I created the first highway safety report 19 years ago, show my age. So basically, I've always liked what they wanted, but we wanted to bring that real time component to Pennsylvania. So how did we go about doing that, bringing that data-driven aspect of operations safety data together? So if you've seen me talk in the past, you've probably seen this slide, but this is where it started. Our crash reports, so those police reports started, they go to that highway safety office. We have access to that. We have all the information on the back end. It's a controlled database, but we're able to harmonize it with other incident information. So our road condition reporting system, weather, but it's also our incident management database, and then those crowdsource data sets from Waze and INRIX. So we have this compilation of safety information coming together that gives us a lot better clarity on what's going on the road for historical analysis. We correlated that with a lot of the other data sets you see there in black, but it really helped us a lot to come up with data-driven countermeasures that we think have been impactful to safety that I'm going to go over in a little bit. But the methodology we always have used is we define or we listen to a problem. We go into the data first to see if it's actually measurable, because I think we all know we can hear anecdotal concerns, but they could be isolated to a certain area. We want to quantify that. We analyze, is that an impactful measure? Because the cost to develop these things can be considerable, especially the time. But if based off of that process in the analysis phase, does it determine a solution that we want to consider? We'll act on that. One of the first ones, more traditional, that we looked at was work zone speed safety cameras. It was a program that was piloted to our legislature, and we've proven since we went live with this that it's in the active work zones where we have this automated enforcement we see 15 to 50% decrease in crashes in those areas. So that's just a real rudimentary example of a countermeasure we've done. But having all this data, looking at the influence time, we wanted to basically change the way we handled our business. When I first came over to operations over 10 years ago, we would hear from the field that we were um, leaving the scene. PSPs out of there, fires out of there, PSPs, Pennsylvania State Police, sorry, um, is out of there, incident's over, we were blanking our boards, but we weren't protecting that queue. But that gave us a different way of thinking about this. And we started to dig into it a little bit and quantify how long it took for the historical travel times to get back to normal and understand if we were having secondary crashes in work zones. So we started in work zones and we wanted to draw some analysis on this to understand where we were having these work zone crashes in the congestion, because I think we all know from a transportation perspective or a driver perspective, you're generally going to sit in traffic around capacity issues. And a lot of times those are work zones. But it's something from an operations perspective that I feel like we always had the opportunity to address. So we wanted to design a solution. And what we did was we designed the queue protection around this that uses the INRIX speed data. We designed it that could use with our existing ITS equipment or portable CMS that had a modem in it. And we just geofence a certain area. We put it in mile segments to where it's field deployed equipment or permanent equipment. And then we can have those dynamic mile ahead messages that are posted to our motorists. We're in the state where this has been implemented since the middle of, even before COVID, actually, all through COVID, but we're changing construction specs that wouldn't be considering queue protection because it's too costly. And we're seeing implementations here, but the safety impacts were kind of astounding to us in the beginning. When we looked at the safety impacts for the areas where we did this, it was predominantly work zones in the beginning. We saw reductions total across the board, crash reductions of 183, rear end 112, fatal crashes 8, and injury crashes 84. That equates to, if you're familiar with crash costs to society, to NHTSA and FHWA methodology, 52 million crash costs to society, Pennsylvania citizens. But what is noticeable here is the truck crashes. We saw that those fatal crashes going from 7 reduction, and we reached out to that community here in Pennsylvania, and we've very much heard positive feedback from our Pennsylvania Motor Truckers Association, where they said, we'll take any information because it takes us so long to slow down. If that information's accurate, and so we don't want to run into the back of the queues, obviously. We've since expanded. We are up to approximately 1,200 miles of roadway. So it doesn't just have to be work zones. This is for even incidents that occur all the time. So we just have geofenced these areas pretty much on a quarter of our core roadway network. So we have around 4,000 core roadway network miles. That's all our limited access roads and interstates around the state. And there's an example on the top left of when it turns on, when the speed crosses that threshold. That's the message that will dynamically update on every ping that the sign gets from the speed data. So that's one example of queue, but how are we using different data in some emerging areas in partnerships with some other offices? So again, starting with the safety data at a very, very high level. We wanted to look at operations related crash data and the contributing factors that's in that crash database, resounding at the top. And I think you saw it in the previous presentations that road conditions and the weather conditions are really high when it comes to contributing factors to crash. But I highlighted 2 others below there. Is there a curb present? Backup and congestion, which I just talked about. We addressed that one. We're working on expanding it further, potentially statewide. But I'm gonna focus in a little bit now on what we've done for weather-focused applications and how we've used traditional safety data and operations data. So we wanted to understand, we were getting so many crashes through our Appalachian Mountains, our higher elevation interstates, sometimes where they would close the roads for 3+ hours, those types of crashes that you hear on the national news. You never want to be the DOT that makes the national news. So we started deploying several years ago now portable VSLs in those red areas. We are now making the switch here in the next couple years to permanent in large swaths of those areas, predominantly in the central area of I-80, and then I-80 on the right, I-81, I'm sorry, between Lebanon, I guess, and Wilkes-Barre, if anybody's familiar with Pennsylvania. We do have a permanent integrated corridor management corridor that has VSLs down in the Philadelphia area right now that has automated algorithms running on the back end. But where has this got us? I'm not expecting you to read all this, but a lot of the analysis that you heard in the study, we've done, and we've came up with a speed restriction playbook in these areas where we have VSLs. On the left is what we work with our TMCs and our operators on, because a lot of it's still manual. We're testing it out. But on the right is the crash likelihood when these conditions occur at our road weather information systems. So we are doing automation around messaging, and we will be piloting. We're not even piloting. We will be working on speed reductions based off of these conditions present in a 15-mile radius of the Arwa station. But how are we rethinking winter operations and protection here? So through that NHTSA grant for digital alerting, we've had a lot of crashes around our plow trucks. We have a lot of crashes for mobile operations, period. So we see this as being dual purposed. So, but our resource here for data is our PennDOT plow trucks and our PennDOT trucks that are out there doing those mobile operations. We have around 5,000 right now with GPS units in them. We're pulling that into our data exchange, where we're going to give that information to Waze, but then again, we're going to have that reference point by pole. As they travel along the road, we're going to be able to put protection messaging up on our ITS equipment. I believe some other states have actually already done this. Don't quote me. I think it's somewhere up in the central north area. I think Minnesota did it. But so look into that. I owe them a phone call. But we're working on that. But there's an opportunity here. I personally think, and this is a proven resource that we did a research on with the Neurodynamics group, just looking at the Audi and the Volkswagen connected vehicle information that they're pulling in off of a small subset of vehicles. But what we want to get to is an internet shared connected vehicle data set that we could then geo-reference over that core roadway network to understand what our actual conditions are on the roadway in real time. So when we tested this, looking at the bottom where you see friction, it was following along with our storm tracks when we would start to lose the friction on the roads where we weren't seeing plows going through. We had camera evidence, etc. So we'd love to get there. We think it's going to take a consortium of vehicles that have connected vehicle capabilities, but we've done the analysis on this, and we're looking into having that consortium come together of the list of manufacturers there, and we might be looking at some partnerships with some other states through some coalitions or maybe pool funds on this, but we're hoping to lead this towards an area to fruition because I think some of these manufacturers are ready. I know I only have a little bit of time left, so I'll cover this real quick. We talked a lot earlier about the top three, but I'll just I'll skip to the second one. We really think the vehicle data is going to help us with active traffic management a lot better, and then it will go into our algorithms and our business roles in the future. But we are working towards digitally geocoded traffic control plans, and then vehicle trajectory safety. I won't go into the architecture you see on the right there, but we do have a smart grant here in Pennsylvania as well. And we just feel that there's an urgent need for improved real-time data transmissions to drivers. This was kind of the back of the napkin math by our transformational technology office, but we think the estimated potential is around 15 to 30% crash reduction and a 10 to 25% fatal reduction if we could get to that networked V2X implementation. So, but we started simple. We didn't go for the moonshot. We wanted to understand that dynamic curve, those curve warning areas, and those traditional areas where we have this. They're more static, but they could take those vehicle trajectory information and it could be correlated in the car to alert people more specifically. So what we did, and we're working on a pilot right now around the state of Pennsylvania. That's an example of all the different locations. But I have a little video here, and I'll skip to it. It won't let me skip to it. It's a little too long. But this is what we are designing. This is actually coming from our VTEX data exchange to the in-dash vehicle as they're driving out in Pennsylvania. They're going to be coming up to that curve. This is going to be a TIM message that will be then sent from our VTEX data exchange as they come up to it. Curve speed warning, 10 miles per hour. These are areas where there were higher crash locations. It's something that people would be familiar with, but that we don't have an RSU out there. This is something that we are looking for solutions that could be connection agnostic, which sets us up to potentially have partnerships like we already have right now with static information with our low bridge locations. And I know across the nation, having our bridges struck is just an operational and it's a safety nightmare. And we've sent this data out to, we have it shared on our public information area, but it's live on our 501 website right now too. So that's a lot of the areas where we're trying to rethink and reuse operations data for safety implementations. So thank you.